So this episode's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, we're talking about prepping, but it's not going to be kind of like crazy reality TV, like all that type of prepping. I want this to be something that's kind of a little bit responsible and just kind of a good thing to know, even if it's not for what's going on right now. This can help in the future, and it's just kind of like more reasonable stuff that's not going to break the bank, something that everybody should do, some really good life skills that everybody should be learning anyways. So we'll just kind of go through all these things, and I'll leave a bunch of links for all the resources, all the things that I'm talking about down below. So pretty much we're going to be talking about some different medical things that you could be learning, some different food prep and other type of preps, things that you should be getting, how you should be prepared. All right, so the first thing is going to be food, because that's something that's pretty important. If you've been to the stores recently, you've noticed that tons of stuff is already sold out, but you don't want to just be getting everything. There's a few things that you can be getting where you can get weeks worth of supplies for just $100 or $200. This is stuff that you can eat afterwards if you don't end up using it, which you probably won't, but it's just good to have as a pretty good security blanket. So you used to be able to get like, you know, these 5-gallon buckets of like stuff, and you get like a month's worth of food for like, you know, 80, $100 or something like that. And now all those buckets, all those prepared prepper stuff, they're all like tripled in price. They're all really expensive. So I wouldn't really recommend going that way and ordering something online, because there's a lot of people trying to capitalize on what's going on, and they're jacking up prices, and they're trying to, you know, really take advantage of people. So I would recommend just going very, very basic. This is stuff you should be eating anyways. Getting things like dried beans and dried rice and canned stuff. A lot of that can be gotten on Amazon. Like you can get like a 25-pound thing of black beans for like $60. I was looking up on Amazon, and you can get rice for the same thing. So for like $150, you can have a week or two's worth of food if you had to survive on beans and rice for, you know, not all that much money. It's a pretty good security blanket. They'll last for a really long time. And if you don't end up using them in the next couple of weeks here, you can just slowly eat them over the rest of the next year or two, and it'll actually probably end up saving you a lot of money because you're buying that in so much bulk that you'll probably save a lot of money over the rest of the year. So this is something that I would recommend doing. We're going to be doing a little bit of this. We already got some stuff in the stores, but a lot of stores are already out of this type of stuff. But you can get like these huge things of beans and rice, and it's just really, really cheap, really good way to prep. And you can also do any type of canned stuff, any type of dried stuff. And also, if you want to take some time while you're in quarantine, while you're home, it's not that hard to learn how to pickle stuff and learn how to freeze vegetables and learn how to you know, can stuff or make jellies or jams, or like whatever you want to learn. Now's a good time to take some time, take a little bit of time aside and learn how to do some of these things. They're good skills to have. You could also start looking into like how to go out and forage and live off the wild. Again, just reading a few different books on this type of stuff can really make you feel really prepared and really secure, so that if you do have to do, you know, living off the land, or learn how to start a fire or learn how to cook these things, now would be a really good time to do that in case you don't end up being able to stay in your home, which I don't foresee happening, but it can't hurt to learn those things, and it can be pretty fun. Now you'll have those skills for the rest of your life. And the next thing is going to be to have a go bag, a ready bag, ready to go, so that you can grab it and just leave, and you don't have to run around your house grabbing stuff in the case of something happening. There's some type of natural disaster or whatever happens, you have to leave. You don't want to be running around and getting all this stuff. Now, this doesn't mean that you know you're like, this is going to happen. It's just good to be prepared, so you have that peace of mind that you can just grab this and go. And a few things that you probably want to have in that bag. And again, I wouldn't recommend going to the store and getting these, because again, they're jacking up the prices, and half the stuff in there is just little doodads that you're never going to actually use. You just need a few basic things. So one of those would be like water purification. So if you want to have like a life straw, or like the water tablets that you put in water that, you know, clean them, or like there's different pumps that you can use. Whatever you want to use to get water, that's something that can run out really quickly. And when that runs out, you know, you can't survive all that long without water. So that's a good thing to make sure that you're bringing with you in case you have to leave your home for whatever reason. And it's also a good thing to be buying when you're prepared. I don't foresee water running out anytime soon. There's been no signs of anything like that happening. But again, like a life straw is like $23, and you can have like 1,000 gallons or whatever it is out of that. So just for, you know, like $50, you can have a couple months worth of clean, safe water. So that can really relay a lot of fears that you're gonna have. I don't think that was the correct word, relay. Somebody will tell me what it is. The next thing you're gonna wanna have in there is probably just a couple of changes of clothes, some extra socks and underwears, maybe like your really ragged outdoor pants and, something like a thermal shirt or something like that, depending on where you're living. If you're in Texas, it's gonna be different than if you're here in New Hampshire. You might wanna have a jacket on top of it. Another thing is gonna be about 2 weeks worth of food. So maybe again, that's just 1 bag of rice, 1 bag of beans, and a couple cans of whatever, and that's pretty much all you're gonna need, so that you're not having this giant bag. You can just have like a little duffel bag. That's all you're really gonna need: food, water, and something to cover yourself with, shelter, maybe if you have some fire starter or something like that. But you pretty much just want like all the basics. You don't need this crazy amount of stuff. It might be good to have a knife, some little things like that, but you just need the basic food and water and clothes so that you're ready to go. And then if you are one of those people who has a firearm, I would recommend throwing a couple of boxes of ammo in there, so that if you are out in the woods or whatever, you're able to go hunting, and then you have a knife to skin whatever you hunt, and you have something to start a fire so that you can cook whatever you skinned. Again, this is not for everybody, but that's just what I'm gonna be putting in my bag. So the next one's probably more realistic, where it's to have a plan and figure out like what your plan is, what's going on. So if you're out of work, if you're stuck at home for the next 2 weeks or the next month, who knows how long it's gonna be, do you have enough food, money, everything like that around your house? So just kind of ticking off like, what am I actually gonna need? And like, what do you have in your emergency fund? Are there any ways that you can make extra money to cover whatever you're not gonna need? If you see that in 2 weeks we're gonna run out of money, I don't know if we'll end up getting these checks from the government. That hasn't really happened yet, but if that happens, that might help out. But just like, what do you end up gonna need for the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks, and start having that plan, so that if you don't leave your house, you'll have everything you need right where you are, and you won't be surprised by anything that might happen if you end up having to stay there longer. So another thing that you can be doing is learning to live off the land, and that can be something that's just a really good life skill to have overall. So there's this book that I was recommended when I was doing my research. It's called Bushcraft 101. I'll leave a link to it down below, along with everything else that I'm talking about here. And that can just kind of tell you how to live off the land. It's really good, like foraging and all that type of stuff. And I would recommend reading that. It's a pretty short book. You can get through it pretty quickly. And then maybe if you want to just go outside, because it's not good to stay inside all the time. Like, even though it's saying, like shelter in place and all this type of stuff, that doesn't mean you can't go outside your home. It's good to go out, get some fresh air, go for a walk, stay healthy, go for runs. Staying healthy throughout this whole thing is just as important, keeping your immune system up. So I definitely wouldn't recommend just, staying inside for the next 2 weeks and not doing anything and just binging Netflix. Going outside and learning some new skills, like take advantage of this pressure, this fear, like whatever you have going on, and say, hey, I'm gonna learn how to, create a shelter, and like what type of food I can eat out in the woods near my house, because if something ever did happen, this is where I would end up. And then you end up, learning about all that. So maybe it's just going for a hike, spending an afternoon, with a book, and just kind of figuring out what to do, how to create a shelter, how to create a fire. If you don't know those type of skills, they're really good skills to have. Just how to skin something, just reading a book or whatever. And again, like what type of foods you can eat. So that can be a really good way to enjoyably go out with some friends and learn that, go out by yourself, go out with your family or whatever, and just start learning a little bit about the outdoors, because that can really come, if anything ever does happen, it's a really good skill that can really help you down the road. And if nothing does happen, then hey, you went outside, you enjoyed yourself, you had some fun, you had some good stories. So that's definitely something that I would recommend reading. That's a really good book on all this type of stuff. So this next one's actually pretty important. So let's just say that in a couple weeks, everything kind of goes downhill. A lot of people are sick. There's not enough rooms at the hospital. So even though you're younger, and I don't think it's really going to affect younger, healthy people, but let's just say that all happens. Well, what happens if you cut your leg, or your friend breaks a finger, or any of those other things, just stuff that could happen in your everyday life, and the hospitals are overcrowded and you're not able to get in them. This can be a good time to take some time while you're quarantined at home and learn how to deal with just normal everyday things that can happen. So there's a few different guides out there where you can just really dig in. You can watch a couple of videos, you can read a couple of books, and they're really short books, they're really good, and you can learn how to handle all these things. So the first one is the Street Medic Guide, and that'll just tell you how to deal with like some normal everyday stuff that could happen. And there's a bunch of different guides out there, but I'd strongly recommend, just even if it's just learning some CPR stuff, learning how to like fix a cut or whatever, or reset something, mean, it could be very good in case that does happen, especially if you know somebody who has a condition. Like, what happens if they can't get to the hospital in a couple weeks? Maybe you should take a few hours and learn how to do some emergency care on that condition. Again, I don't know if this will happen, but in a couple weeks, this definitely could happen. Or if you're out in the woods and you end up breaking something, this is a really good skill to know how to do so that you're not just, stuck there helpless. Learning how to do all these things and learning how to be self-reliant will really give you a lot of confidence and really distill a lot of fear, and will also help you the rest of your life. So these are definitely really good life skills to know. So a few different resources on that is the Emergency Medic podcast, the Survival Doctor's Guides to Wounds, and then, like I said, the Street Medic Guide, and then Military Medical, which again, these are a lot of these are free resources that you can just check out and learn some things from. It's a good way to kill some time and also, learn some really valuable skills. Another thing you want to make sure you have stockpiled is coffee, because if that runs out, it's gonna be really bad. So that's what I got, guys. I'm gonna leave some other links to where I did my research for this. There's some really great articles that you can read that had some really great research on all this stuff. If you want to dive deeper into this, this is very the surface level stuff, but it can definitely help you out and just help you feel a little less scared of what's going to happen in the future, and just a little bit more prepared, and can also be kind of a fun activity. It's kind of a guilty pleasure, just to kind of be a little preppy and kind of go with that, and hopefully everybody out there can stay safe, stay sanitized. And we're going to be going deeper into all this. This is really surface level. We'll go in a lot deeper on the podcast that we're bringing back in the next week here. Finally, this is Unfiltered. I'll throw a link down to that below as well, so check out that. That's gonna be me and my brother doing a podcast again. You guys enjoy that, and I will see you another time, probably.